That was by far the most intense shopping experience, let alone the most intense fabric shopping experience of my life. This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence. Hi, my name's Janelle and welcome back to Rosery Apparel. As you can probably tell from the background of this video, I'm not in my usual sewing space, and that is because I'm currently in South Korea. We are currently about 1/3 of the way through our trip and I have been dying to go and check out some of the fabric stores here. One of the biggest reasons why I wanted to visit Korea is the fact that they are very well known for their very beautiful, good quality fabrics. Often when I'm like looking for fabrics online, especially on places like Etsy and things, often the best fabrics are from South Korea. So I am so excited to finally be going fabric shopping today. I of course am going to be bringing you along with me because yeah, the fabric area I'm going to today looks absolutely bonkers. Today I'm heading to Dongdaemun market. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a fabric market, but it's not just a market in the traditional sense of the word. It is basically a fabric shopping mall. It looks like it's multiple stories of different fabric stalls and also like any kind of particular item you think you might need for your sewing project, this place will have it. It has everything you need to create clothing, as well as other different crafty things, I think. I am equally parts excited and terrified to check out this market today. I'm excited obviously because it looks incredible and looks like fabric and sewing heaven, but I'm terrified because it also looks completely overwhelming and I have no idea what to expect. I am a pretty seasoned fabric shopper, I have to say. I have worked in a fabric shop in the past and I've also been to places like Napori Fabric Town in Tokyo, which was very overwhelming, but I did end up finding some really beautiful, unique pieces to take home with me that time. And that is what I'm looking for today. I'm looking for pieces of fabric that I probably would not be able to find back home in Australia. In particular, I found a tablecloth in a boutique that I went into the other day. It wasn't for sale, it was for just display, but that tablecloth looked like it was just a piece of fabric that could have potentially been bought at this particular market, and I'm looking for fabric like that. It was like a seersucker textured fabric with the most beautiful butter yellow floral print. I have fallen completely in love with it, and if I can find a fabric like it at the Dongdaemun market, I would be so happy. I'm also obviously on the lookout for beautiful embroidered broderie anglaise type fabrics because they in particular are really hard to come by in Australia where I'm from. So yeah, let's head off now and go and check out this market. Hopefully I don't get too overwhelmed and actually come home with some things. So from the research I did in the lead up to this fabric shopping day, I learnt that the best way to find the entrance of the market is to actually go to the Dongdaemun station and leave it via exit 9, as the entrance to the market is just outside this exit. In particular, I just want to quickly shout out this video here by Soften Studio, which was so helpful when researching the Dongdaemun market. And then across the road from exit 9 of the station is this red awning covering a door, and that doorway is the entrance to the fabric market. Once inside, I almost immediately became completely overwhelmed, so I made a beeline straight to the nearest escalator, as I knew that the second and the third floor is where all the fabrics are to be found. So something you need to know about the Dongdaemun fabric market is that very few stalls actually stock fabric on the bolt. This is because each stall has a very limited space, so instead they have fabric swatches of all the fabrics they have available, and then the actual fabric is stored in warehouses off-site. Once you find a fabric you would like to purchase, you place your order at the stall and then they will let you know a time to come back to pick up your order, usually a few hours later or sometimes the following day, depending on what time you order your fabric. Successfully purchased my first piece of fabric. I am so overwhelmed and just so proud of myself that I managed to do it, honestly. So I have to pick it up in an hour. As well as fabric, you can find every type of trim you could ever imagine at this place. It was honestly such a treasure trove and a complete maze of fabric and sewing goodness. After lunch, I briefly went up to the 5th floor, which is where you can find all of the craft related supplies. I ended up not spending all that much time up here as I found it even more overwhelming than the fabric floors, which I didn't think was actually possible. But I think I will come back to the market just to explore the craft floor because I was just not mentally prepared to even look at crafts the day I went, sadly. But here is just a tiny snippet of the craft floor that I explored. It's actually a little bit bonkers, isn't it? So after over 6 hours of shopping at the Dongdaemun market and with my fabric purchase successfully secured, it was time to head home, which means it is now time for a fabric haul. Okay, it is the next day now, and that was by far the most intense shopping experience, let alone the most intense fabric shopping experience of my life. Like, it's early the next day. I wanted to film this part of the video as soon as possible while the whole experience is still fresh in my mind because yeah, it was absolutely bonkers. But before I get in and debrief with you, let's just take a quick moment to talk about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I'm sure you know all about Squarespace by now, especially if you're a long-time viewer of my channel, but just in case you've never heard of them, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence and launch your passion project. Whether you'd like to start making and selling your own products, create a beautiful portfolio to showcase your work, write a blog, or simply create any website of any kind, you can build, design, and run your dream website all by yourself with Squarespace. You simply select from their range of beautifully designed templates, and then once you've chosen a template, you can then change it up as much or as little as you like. You can change the overall layout of the website and all of the fun things like the fonts and colors with just a few clicks, no knowledge or background needed in coding whatsoever. I personally sat down to design the Rosery Apparel website and online store back in 2016, and I had a very clear idea what I wanted my website to look like and all the features I needed it to have to run my business successfully, and I literally was able to build my website in just one afternoon. I'm not tech savvy at all, but it was really so straightforward and easy, and I especially love their drag and drop system that you can just place whatever feature you want on your website and drag it into the correct position and play around with layouts as much as you like until you have the website of your dreams. There is so much I love about Squarespace, but one thing in particular I have really been appreciating while I've been traveling is the fact that they have an app. I'm able to check my website stats, make edits to my site, as well as see all the different orders coming in literally just from my phone. I don't have to get my laptop out, and yeah, this app is just another way that Squarespace make running a website so stress-free and easy. So if you'd like to go and check out Squarespace and create a website of your own, I totally recommend you go and check them out using the link in the description below this video. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, head to squarespace.com/roseryapparel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video, and let's get into the debrief because man, I have a lot to share. So like I said, I wanted to film this segment of the video ASAP because yeah, it was just such an intense shopping experience and so unlike any shopping experience I've ever experienced, and I wanted to give you my fresh thoughts as soon as possible. So I literally got home and wrote up a whole heap of notes. So if you see me looking down, I'm just checking my notes to make sure I cover everything. Also, my voice is having an issue today. I'm sorry about that. I think I'm just overall exhausted by the day I had yesterday. So I thought I'd start by just giving some general information. I chose to go on a Thursday, which I feel like was a good day. It was very busy, but all of the stalls were open. I don't think I saw a single stall closed. I arrived at around 10 AM and I stayed till 4:30 PM. And I did notice at around 4:30, a lot of the stalls, well, not a lot, just some of the stalls were starting to close up for the day. And even though I stayed at the market for over 6 hours, I still did not even see everything. Like, I didn't even go back down to the first floor, which was the haberdashery section. After I went up that escalator, I never even ventured back down there, and I barely scratched the surface on the craft floor. It was massive and by far the most overwhelming part for me personally, so I would love to go back and just explore that floor. Basically, the Dongdaemun market, from what I can gather, is 4 different buildings that are kind of joined together and the floors run throughout all 4 buildings, hence why it just has this insane scale to the whole market. Like, it just goes on forever. The ground floor, the first floor, it was all the haberdashery, the zips, sewing tools, sewing notions, everything like that. I barely looked through it at all. I got completely overwhelmed and went straight up that escalator, which led to floor 2, which was the first fabric floor. This floor had mainly fancy fabrics like wedding dress fabrics. A lot of the broderie and glaze fabrics I found were on this floor. Also some more like traditional type fabrics for the hanboks and things that made here in Korea. A lot of fabric trims, like a lot of lace trims were on this floor. I think this floor was my favorite. It was just so pretty to look through because all the fabrics were just stunning. And then the next floor, floor 3, was just general fabrics. Every type of fabric you could think of, this floor had it, ranging from furs to denims, just plain cotton fabrics. There were some stalls that were just dedicated to men's shirts, like all the different plaid and pinstripe fabrics for men's shirts. I found that super interesting. Yeah, I think I spent the majority of time on this floor. It was just so incredible to look through all the different types of fabrics, and I'll go more into detail on that later, but oh my goodness, it was unlike anything I've ever seen before. Just every type of fabric at your fingertips. Then floor 4 was kind of like a nothing floor. I feel like it was filled with just random different businesses. I could be wrong on that. I did have a little look around, but there didn't seem to be anything sewing or craft related on that floor that I could see. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments though, because I might have missed something, I'm not sure. And then floor 5 was the craft section, which was, again, like I said, massive and just had every type of craft supply you could ever dream of. And then floor 6 was a food court, which was honestly ideal because, yeah, I needed so many breaks because I was just feeling so overwhelmed. So I'd just take myself up to the top floor, have a cup of tea, had a lunch break. Like, having that floor up there was incredible. I do recommend going up there and just taking a breather whenever you feel like you're overwhelmed. And then in terms of the fabrics, the price range of the fabrics I purchased were around 5,000 to 10,000 won, which is a little over $5 to $10 Australian, which I think was so affordable, especially for the beautiful quality of fabrics I purchased. It felt like wholesale pricing, which I feel like is the whole point of this market, is you're meant to buy in bulk. So yeah, I guess that goes on to my next point, which is all about how to actually buy the fabric. So as you would have seen, the stores kind of have these swatch cards, which is all the fabrics they have on offer. Here's one as an example. I actually ended up buying this fabric, but as you can see, there are just, I haven't even counted how many colors to choose from. So you then, after finding the fabric, would have to decide on a color you wanted, which I found the most difficult. Like, choosing a color was so hard. I think I spent about 10 minutes looking at this shade card, figuring out which color to buy. The cards themselves actually say the width of the fabric, the composition. So this one has C 100%, which I'm assuming means cotton 100%. Lots of them would say P 100%, which would stand for polyester. Some had N for nylon, I'm assuming. And some said bio, which means could be any kind of natural fiber, I'm not sure, but I tried to basically only purchase cottons or the ones that said bio because they're the types of fabric I personally prefer. And then it will have the price. So this one was 5,800 won per yard. So obviously there was a little bit of a language barrier. No one really spoke English there, which is completely understandable. And I know no Korean, so that was definitely a struggle. Basically, I just used Google Translate to ask for what I needed, and they would use Google Translate back to tell me all the information I needed to know. I personally didn't purchase anything less than 4 yards. I didn't come across any minimum order quantities or anything, so I don't know if you were to try and purchase at 1 or 2 yards, whether they would say no. One stall I asked for 4 yards and they said I had to purchase 4.5, and I was like, that's fine. But all the rest didn't even question the amount I asked. I think I asked for 7 yards of one fabric and 5 of another, and they were like fine with that. And then obviously once you've purchased the fabric, they will tell you a time to come and collect it, because the fabrics aren't actually on the premises. They have warehouses off site to house all of their fabric, and then they will cut the fabric and have it delivered to you to pick up. One was just within an hour, another one was at the end of the day at 4:30 I had to go back and pick up. So yeah, it kind of ranges in the time frame. I guess one of my biggest tips would be to purchase your fabric early-ish so you can ensure the same day pickup. So I had placed all my orders by 1 p.m. and I was able to pick up all of them on the same day. The one thing I found really interesting about the whole experience was the fact that the sellers did not actively try to sell to you. They basically ignored you completely while you were looking at the different fabrics, which at first was a bit off-putting for me because I was like, am I allowed to look? Like, am I being a nuisance being here? It was really interesting. But then once I got started and just understood how the whole process worked, I guess they assume that if you're at this market, you're there for a reason and you're looking for something that you need. And if they've got it, great. If they don't, move on to the next stall. Like, there's no point actively selling. But as soon as I initiated the sale and asked to purchase something, they were super helpful and super accommodating to the fact that I was annoyingly not able to speak Korean. The first place I went to purchase a fabric from, I asked if I could use my card and they said it was cash only, which I didn't know, and I didn't have any cash. So I had to go back to the station to get some cash out at the ATM, and then I figured I will never find that stall again because it is just such a maze of different stalls. It's almost impossible to find the same stall twice. I did eventually manage to find it and I made my purchase, and then I had to come back in an hour to pick it up. And this is my next big tip, which is to take a photo of the stall, and in particular the stall signage, because that will have the stall number on it, which will help you be able to find the stall again when you need to pick up your fabric. I had a good half an hour where I just could not find one stall in particular I needed to go and pick up my fabric from, and that was a bit of a panic situation. I was like, I'm just never gonna find that fabric. I'm never gonna get my money back for that fabric. That's fine. I cannot find it. And then eventually I found this tiny little corridor that led to a whole new space, and the stall was in there, and luckily I found it. But that was by far the hardest and most challenging part of this whole shopping experience, was trying to find the stall you purchased the fabric from to be able to get your fabric later on. I was messaging Matt at the time being like, I'm lost. I don't know where to find my stall to get my fabric. And he's like, you need to buy some thread and just leave a trail to retrace your steps. And it felt like that. Like, it was impossible to navigate, and it was honestly by chance that I found all 3 of the stalls that I bought fabric from again and managed to pick up my fabric purchases. My final tip that I'll share about the fabric shopping is that you can find stores there that do have fabric bolts on site that you can purchase just a few meters from. So if you're a bit intimidated by the whole ordering process, which is totally fair enough, you can still buy fabric there. They're very rare to find stores like that, but they do exist. I did see a few, and I did buy one fabric from a stall that had the bolts, and that was so much easier. Oh my goodness, it was just so easy to be like, I'll have this and this many yards, and I could take my fabric and not have to worry about finding that stall again. So yeah, that was my intense and incredible experience at the Dongdaemun market. I would 100% recommend it. Just embrace the chaos of it and embrace the fact that you're going to get lost. You will find your way eventually. I did. I managed to get out of there alive. I had so much fun. Like, I was exhausted by the end of the day. I walked 20,000 steps yesterday. That just goes to show how much walking's involved, walking through these 4 buildings and all the different floors. It was just so intense in the best possible way. So let me go through now and show you the fabric I ended up purchasing. Like I said yesterday morning, when I had no idea what I was even getting in for, I wanted to find fabrics that are just a little bit different, have a little bit of texture, and are just completely unlike anything I'd be able to find at home. And I think I've done a really good job. It was so hard to, I don't know, find good fabric because there's so many options. It's hard to know which fabric you love the most. So basically, anytime I resonated with a fabric, I was like, cool, I'm gonna buy this one because I think it's beautiful. It also was hard because you feel like you want to see all the fabrics before you make a decision. That's how I like to shop anyway. I like to know all my options before I make a purchase, so I know I'm making the best possible purchase, and you just can't do that at this place. So I did feel like I was impulse buying a little bit, but they all turned out beautiful in the end. Like, I'm really proud of the decision making and the purchases I have made. I feel like they were all very intentional. I'm getting to the fabric haul, but one last thing is you also had to be very good at picturing what the small little swatch would look like as a bigger fabric piece. So this first fabric I purchased, I thought after I purchased it, I'd made a terrible mistake. The fabric is this gorgeous floral cotton. The reason I bought this fabric was because it has this tiny fine texture throughout it. I'll put close-ups in so you can see, and I just fell in love with the texture of this fabric. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before, and obviously the rose print is beautiful as well. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of the textured tablecloth I saw in that boutique. That was a yellow floral, but I fell in love with this rosy red floral instead. When I placed the order for this, after I'd left the store, I panicked and was like, wait, it's a really small floral. I don't know how it's going to look as a big fabric, and it is very small. It's probably smaller than I'd anticipated because you just can't really picture what it's going to look like in a big piece of fabric. But once I received it at the end of the day, I was so happy I purchased it because it is such a stunning fabric. It's so, like I said, that texture is just so pretty and so unlike anything I've seen before, and yeah, I'm ultimately really happy with this purchase. I totally recommend having a bit of a game plan, and for me it was finding beautiful textured fabric was my thing I was focusing on. Have something to focus on because it is so overwhelming. You want to buy all the fabric, but if you've got that one theme that you're looking for, it just helps to narrow down all of the options available. The next fabric is that textured cotton fabric that I showed in the swatch earlier. I ended up going with this green fabric. It took me so long to choose. As you'll see, I have a bit of a green theme going on yesterday, so something about the greens were just calling to me and I just went with it. I was either tossing up between this or a really dark navy, but I'm really happy I went with the green. I just think it's just such a stunning color, and yeah, the texture is really gorgeous as well. It's like almost a shirred looking texture. I think I got 5 yards of this fabric, and the floral I got 4.5. This next fabric is the one I bought off the Bolt. It's a broderie and glaze fabric in this gorgeous creamy shade. It's this gorgeous floral pattern. I found the Bolt and there wasn't actually much of the fabric left on the Bolt, so I just asked for what was left, and I don't know how much was left. I think about 2 meters maybe. Either way, the seller gave me a discount for finishing the Bolt, which was a bonus. And like I said, I wanted to find some broderie and glaze, and I was really happy to stumble upon this piece. And then the last fabric I have to share is another broderie and glaze. This is the first fabric I purchased of the day, and I was again umming and ahhing on what shade to buy, but I ended up going with this khaki green. Look at this fabric. It is stunning. It's by far my favorite fabric find of the day. I ended up buying 7 meters of this because when I sent Matt a picture asking which shade I should go, I was tossing up between green and brown, and he said I should go the green and I should get a bit extra so I can make him a shirt. So I did. I got 7 meters, 5 for me, 2 for his shirt. And honestly, I love this fabric so much. I'm pretty confident I'm going to go back and buy the brown as well. I've still got the swatch that I accidentally took home. I'm not sure if you're meant to take the swatches home, but I was just so overwhelmed I put them in my bag without even realizing. But yeah, here's the green and here's the brown. I love both of them and it was so hard to choose. I'm so glad I got the green because it is gorgeous, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go back and buy the brown as well. This was the stall that the fabric was ready within an hour, so I could go back one morning, purchase the fabric, go to the craft section for an hour or 2 and explore that area, and then by the time I'm finished my fabric should be ready to pick up. And yeah, I think I'm gonna do that because I just love this broderie and glaze fabric so much. It is such a pretty design and doesn't have the price on it. But I think it was about 10,000 won. It was the most expensive of the lot, but it was still only 10,000 won, or around $10 a meter, and it's stunning. So I think, yeah, I'll definitely be going back for more. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this chaotic fabric shopping video. I had such a ball yesterday. Like, it was an exhausting day, but it was honestly one of the most fun days of the trip so far. There was just so much to see, and I would love to buy some like cute craft supplies too. There were just so many, and I just need to go there with a craft focus next time because yeah, yesterday I was definitely there with a fabric focus. I didn't even buy any trims or anything. It was too overwhelming. So I might go back and focus on craft and trims next time. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed coming along with me, and I hope you found this video helpful if you're heading to the Dongdaemun markets yourself. I wish everyone could go and experience it. It was unlike anything I've ever been to before. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, it would really mean a lot to me if you could give it a like, and Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already for more fabric shopping and sewing type videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end, and I'll see you in the next one.